Did you know that you can get this same great episode of the Rural Woman podcast ad-free? I get it. Listening to ads during a podcast isn't always my favorite either. But in order to keep the lights and coffee pot on here at the Rural Woman Podcast Studios, they are necessary. I am so grateful to each and every one of my sponsors, but if you yourself would like to skip the ads while supporting the show, consider joining me over on Patreon. Patrons of the Rural Woman podcast get ad-free episodes starting at Tier 5 on their podcast player of choice each week, plus some other great benefits. Find out more by heading to the link in today's show notes to learn how you can become a patron through Patreon. Hi, I'm Caitlin Dubin, and this is the Rural Woman podcast. I'm a first-generation farmer who married into agriculture. Born and raised in a city, I was so unfamiliar with where my food came from, but I was determined to figure it out. Through my journey into agriculture, I saw women who were strong but humble, often taking a back seat. To me, these women were leaders who deserved a seat at the table. I created the Rural Woman podcast to share the voices of women in an industry whose stories often went untold. The rural entrepreneurs who live and breathe their work, full of grit and pride. We come here to share our stories, to be in community with each other, to be challenged and inspired, but most importantly, to be celebrated and to be heard. We may not all live, farm, ranch, or homestead the same, but we are all connected. We are rural women, and our stories are worthy of being told. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Rural Woman podcast. Today you'll meet Lori Kinnee. Lori is a fourth-generation rancher, mentor, and a passionate advocate for women in agriculture. After years balancing ranch life with a demanding career in corporate finance, Lori found herself facing burnout. Returning to the ranch full-time, she discovered a new purpose: creating space for women in agriculture to be supported, seen, and heard. Through her work with Rancher by Lori, she now helps women reclaim balance, lead with confidence, and preserve the legacy of family ranching while building a future rooted in both tradition and resilience. Without further ado, my friends, let's get to this week's episode with Lori. Lori, welcome to the Rural Woman podcast. How are you today?
I'm good, Caitlin. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I am so excited to be sitting here and chatting with you and to be able to get to share your incredible story with my audience.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. And I'm excited to talk to you too.
It's like seeing an old friend that I just saw recently again. So, but what a delight.
Yeah, it is. It's good.
Yeah. Lori, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what your connection to agriculture is.
All right. Well, obviously, I'm Lori Kinnee, and I was born in central Alberta and raised on a multi-generational family farm. I was raised playing with my cousins outside in the mud and the slop, and then I kind of grew up riding horses and playing with cows and cats and dogs. And I married my husband, and we both had the passion for agriculture. We started our own ranch in central Alberta. What we found is that the land prices were escalating, and so we relocated in 2002, November of 2002, just over 200 cows and 2 kids under 5, and wound up here in northern Alberta. May 2023 BSE hit. So that's when the fun story of my life actually kind of begins. So where did my start in ranching come? All I got to say is I think it's kind of in my blood, Caitlin.
Absolutely. Yeah. Born and raised in ranching. Talk to us about growing up on the ranch and what some of your favorite memories were.
Yeah, lots of my memories do stem back to just being a kid and, playing in the olden days grain dryer and running around on the old equipment and hide and seek. I used to with my girlfriends, we would run around in the dark and play hide and seek in and amongst the barns and stuff. 4-H was a big part of growing up on the ranch as well. So just the opportunity to be hands-on with the animals, it's something that I really love. And just going for walks and being in nature. And there was always the side where, you didn't see Dad during harvest because he was gone. I can remember, I think when I was about 13, there was about a 3-week span. I didn't see him. He'd be coming in late and I'd be going to school. And, just because you're busy at that time of year, you don't necessarily go for supper. But yeah, for me, it was just a lot about being outside, being with the animals and being with family. And I grew up in a ranching community. And so everyone around me was involved in it too, right? So it's just how it was.
Yeah, that's amazing. You mentioned, you continued ranching in your lifetime. Was there anything else that you ever thought that you wanted to do? Did you ever want to get off of the ranch and not come back? Some farm kids do.
I honestly, Caitlin, never thought I would get to stay on the ranch. The cousins above me were all boys. I was the girl. And so it kind of felt like there wasn't a place for me. So I also have another passion, and that is numbers. So I left just, thinking it would be somewhere I would come back to on the weekends and help out when I could. Went to university, started out in economics, then realized that my passion really was in accounting. So I transferred over to accounting and got a diploma in accounting, and then just kind of continued on with that into my adult life. Of course, it slowed down a bit when I had children. I was only able to work part-time. And then when we relocated, obviously I didn't work, but coming to the North opened up a lot of open doors for me as well, as far as a career in numbers, doing accounting. I worked as a loans officer. I worked for the government on crop insurance and the ag stability programs as well. So, and I loved all that too. Like, what I'll never forget, I had a job interview and they asked me, what are you passionate about? And what spilled out of my mouth was cows and numbers. And that's I kind of was almost embarrassed, but I'm like, really, that's what it is.
Yeah, no, I love that. And honestly, we have to have people in this world that their passion is numbers, right? Because I'm sure there's a lot of us, specifically in agriculture, that yes, we love the cows and we love being outside and we love growing. But the numbers part is the part where we're like, ugh, like this is the part we don't like about farming. So really, you have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a lot though. I'm trying to walk away from it a little bit right now and focus more on the people, because sometimes I feel like that aspect gets lost. But to run an operation, you absolutely have to be hands on deck with the numbers, right?
Yeah, for sure. Talk to us about the move of your cattle operation. I'm always finding that very interesting because it's funny, for me specifically, not growing up in agriculture and coming to it. It's like, I loved my husband. He was the farmer. The farm was never going to move, but some people do move their farms and operations. So talk to us about moving your operation to Northern Alberta.
Yeah, it was, I don't know that it was even a hard decision. We just kind of knew that at that time, cows weren't worth a lot. We were still, we moved in 2002. So grain was kind of where it was at. We did dabble a little bit in grain in central Alberta. And we were selling canola at $6.12. I was just looking at that, so it's like, well, we got to pick one because both of them together, nothing's making money, right? So let's pick. So that's why we did move, right? We wanted to focus on cows, but the land around us in central Alberta, cows just weren't going to pay for. So that's when we moved up here, and it was hard leaving the family. There was a lot. Keep in mind, I was just in my late 20s, and you're still in that mindset that the world is your playground, right? There's still a lot of life to live when you're that age, right? And so I don't know that I actually understood what the impact of leaving the family behind would be, raising my kids unlike how I was raised. I was raised with my grandparents were half a mile up the road. My cousins were on my doorstep, or I was on their doorstep all the time, right? And I had one cousin, we were together, same age in school until we graduated, right? So my kids didn't have that. I didn't consider that aspect. But it did, from a business aspect, provide a lot of opportunities simply because of the price of land, and the land was available here. So we were able to expand and become comfortable. So we talk about it often. Would we do it again? And yeah, we would. Absolutely, we would. We do know people that have looked to move though. And that's what we always say though, is there are some things that you don't think about, right? Like, what about leaving the family behind? Your kids aren't going to have grandparents at their Christmas concerts. They're probably going to get babysat in the van with a little movie playing while you're processing cattle, right? Because that's just how it is. But the opportunity to go on our own and build our own business and be proud of it is, I mean, that's a feeling that I don't think we wouldn't have that if we had stayed in central Alberta. So it's a 6 1, half dozen of the other. But I mean, yeah, we would absolutely do it all again.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that. I know specifically in agriculture, we talk a lot about the implications of things like family and the family implications of things. And at the end of the day, we're running businesses that a lot of times have to do with our family. And yes, it's something to consider. But again, if your bottom line is, are we able to provide a life for our family and our kids in a way that we would like to, well, then we have to do the business sense versus the family sense. And sometimes that doesn't feel great, specifically like looking back or anything. But the way that you've explained it is, the bottom line is we needed to do what was best for our business, which was in turn the best decision for your family.
Well, and when we came, you make your new friends and neighbors, they become the kids' family. They become our family. Like, they're like our brothers, sisters. I mean, the one thing that I always triggers in my mind about my move is, so we moved in November, and so Christmas was right there. We didn't go to family, and I'll never forget that first New Year's Eve. I took the kids to town to get to rent movies. And I remember walking up the street of our small town, and I knew absolutely no one. No one knew me, and that was an overwhelming, like, what the F have we just done, right? And there was many moments like that, but then at the same time, there was many moments we celebrated. Look what we did. So I don't know, it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to me about that move and the building of your community in this new place for you and your family. What has that been like for you over the last 20 years? Or how many years has it been?
November 2000. Yeah, it's just about 23 years now. It'll be coming up. It's been an adventure. There was some people in the neighborhood that, there's some older fellows, oh, you guys from Central Alberta coming up here going to show us how it's done. And it's like, no, actually, we're knocking on your door because we want to know what you've done. Because, I mean, most of our neighbors, Caitlin, built it from scratch. Like, they are, our neighbor to the east, I think, I mean, he was a veteran. And so his land, he's a homesteader, right? So that was interesting because, just some of the things that we did in Central Alberta didn't necessarily work. The soil type is different up here than it is there. The sun stays up longer here, which is awesome. But guess what? It means you're going to work way longer too. So it's a little bit more tiring, but it also gets darker a lot sooner. I don't know that I'm actually answering exactly what you're asking me, but, thank goodness our oldest was headed into school in kindergarten. And also in the little community where the school was, there was a curling rink. And so I had curled a lot when I was young with my dad. And so, she was in kindergarten, I started curling, and my husband got involved with the local forage association. And so you just kind of build it out from there. And the neighbors were so welcoming, right? Like, as soon as we moved here, there was probably 3 people the first day knocking on our door wanting to meet us, right? I mean, it's kind of exciting. And it is for us too now when someone else moves into the community.
Yeah, it is exciting when there's new people around, right? And I always find it so funny because, again, like growing up in the city and growing up in the era where I guess we slowly stopped answering the door, not like it used to be. It's just like people would show up, you open the door, you had cookies on the table for them, right? And that's, for me, when moving out here, that was what it was like. I was like, there's people knocking on my door more out in a rural setting than there ever was in a city setting, right? And I think that just goes to show you like the type of community that, regardless, I think of whether you live in Northern Alberta or you live in Kentucky or wherever it is, like that's just kind of the rural lifestyle of being welcoming to your new neighbors. And dare I say it, just a little bit nosy too. Like, I feel like,
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. They kind of want to know why you're here, right?
yeah,
But that's okay. Like,
yeah,
sometimes you just have to let your guard down a little bit. And I always say we always have something to give and we should always be open to receive, right?
hmm,
So I think that's what it's mostly about when you move or whatever. You really have to be open to giving and open to receiving.
yeah, for sure. I love that, Lori. You can help support the stories of women in agriculture to be shared through the Rural Woman podcast on Patreon. What is Patreon? It's a membership-based platform that helps fund and support creators like me to create and produce content like this that you all love. New to the Rural Woman podcast Patreon is ad-free listening and patron-only bonus content and exclusive episodes. Learn more and join the patron gang today at patreon.com/The Rural Woman Podcast. So talk to us about your current cattle operation. What are you guys doing up there?
Well, we're strictly cow calf. Do a little bit of backgrounding. So soon after BSE happened and hit with us, I mean, you got to imagine this is a young couple with young kids with payments because we just had invested, and all of a sudden we couldn't sell our animals, right? Like the borders were shut, and it was like, what is going on here? Still getting to know people, trying to find stuff. So we learned very quickly that we needed to educate ourselves a lot on the numbers about our operation, about what we could do. So part of what came out of that through working with some consultants and mentors was we switched our calving. So we calve in June and our graze mainly our own feed. We do buy a little bit of straw and hay when we need to. And the calves typically stay on their cows. Every year is different. This year we weaned everything right beginning in January. There has been years where we've left them on until March or April, just simply based on where the feed's at. The cows don't come home. The cows are always staying out in the pastures. We do rotationally grazing. Much of our operation is solar operated, like as far as the fencing and the waters and whatnot. I'm proud to say we are have brought in the fifth generation, because I don't think I mentioned that, but I'm fourth generation. So our son now ranches with us. That's pretty exciting, actually, to have him along. I always say I'm pretty lucky to sit at my kitchen table every morning with my husband and my son and talk about the business that we're running together. So that in a nutshell is what it is. I don't know how much more detail you want or what, but it's just the three of us, and we do what we need to do to get the jobs done.
Absolutely. So talk to me about working off of the operation in corporate while growing your operation over the last 20 years and kind of what that experience was like for you.
Yeah. So when we moved, we always had moved with the intention, because I did have the education background and also had some work experience in central Alberta, that I would work off the farm, because really it was the only way to make it work. And then, of course, it ended up that was the only way to make it work. So I did go off to work, and it led to burnout for sure. But I would recover from that after a number of years, and felt like just being at home on the ranch wasn't enough, right? So I went back to work again, and partly out of need, but partly because I didn't feel like just being the woman on the ranch, was good enough for me. It was something I thought I needed to do for myself as far as the ranch. But I loved it. Like I would help a lot of people with figuring out their numbers and making budgets for the next year, and talking about the year that they had just had. And, sometimes there was some aha moments for them, and sometimes there was some tears, but I'll never forget one of the last days that I did do a farm call. It was 2 farm visits I had in one day. And the first visit was to visit a family. The parents were about the same age as my husband and myself, and they had 5 kids, and they were living in this big log house with a loft. And all they really wanted to do was just ranch. And that was literally their dream, to just do it all together. And I remember leaving their place thinking, wow, okay. So in the afternoon, I went to a young family, and they were living in some Atco trailers, and they had 3 little boys, and all they wanted to do was just ranch. And I remember getting in the company vehicle that day, and I said, what the heck are you doing, Lori? Like, there's people out here that want exactly what you have. And I went back to the office and I wrote my resignation letter. And yeah, I guess that's kind of a quick and dirty version of it. I mean, I can tell you all about the days I would work, 40 hours a week. We had a lot of custom cows, because that's the other thing that we did in the past, was we would custom calve cows for guys. And so I'd work 40-hour weeks, and then on the weekends, my husband and I would spend probably another 10 hours in the alleyway sorting off the cows that were going to calve and not calve. And I mean, it was just exhausting. I don't even know that I don't know how much time I spent with my kids. There certainly was no date nights. There was a lot of fast foods ate. There was a lot of pizzas ordered. And so, I mean, would I do it again? Yeah, probably, because I just feel like it's made me who I am today.
Well, and I think it gives you that chance to reflect back on how you did it, right? And maybe what you learned from that piece of your life, and maybe how to do it differently.
Different. Yeah, I was just going to say, I would do it again, but I would do it different. I would be very aware of what I was doing, instead of, like, I explain to some people sometimes, it just feels like your hair's on fire, right? You're just like, wherever you're going, but you just never know some days what was going to happen, right? At least when I had a job, I think I always felt like I knew where I was going to be from 7:30 until 5. And then what happened from 5 until 10, that was, I was rolling the dice.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, feeling burnout. And I feel like that is almost a universal term that people are starting to adopt and recognize now. I guess back then, did you know it was burnout, or did you just think this is how everyone feels?
Yeah, and I don't know that in our industry that the women or the men are actually even knowing that that's what they're suffering from. I literally, for me, it was a chronic sinus infection that would not go away, and I was just like down and out. I mean, I was in bed till 11 o'clock most mornings, and my husband didn't even try getting me up to help, because I literally couldn't. But the first time it happened to me, I remember talking to my HR department, and it was very interesting, because I would be in my office and it was literally like I could feel my heart beating outside my chest. Like I said that, I can literally feel like I'm holding my heart in my chest when I feel a client come to me. But when I come home, I could stand in the alleyway of 70 cows run into me, and it didn't bother me to stop them. And I was having this conversation with my HR department, like, is wrong with me, right? And they're like, I don't know, when are you coming back to work, right? But I at that time I had no idea that that's what it was, and I agree, it's only just in the recent years that term has come out, and I was like, that really was what it was. I didn't have a sinus infection. It was my body saying, you know what, Lori, you gotta make some changes here. And I did. Like I said, I did for a little while, and then I felt like, no, I needed to do more. So I went and did it again. But this time when it happened, I recognized it. And then I also, my gut just told me that it was time to stay home.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and good for you for recognizing that. And I am the first one to tell you, I know the feeling of, feeling like you have to do something. You have to do that extra piece, right? Like you feel like you have to be a contributing member to society, to your operation, to all of these things. And it's just like recognizing that where we put ourselves is where we're supposed to be, not the pressure from outside saying, this is what we're supposed to be doing. We know where we're supposed to be when we're there. And, even by you saying having 70 cows running full tilt towards you and that not causing that heart out of your chest feeling, that's your body telling you that you are supposed to stop those 70 cows, right?
Yeah. It was the oddest thing. Like when I would think about it, I'm like, shouldn't I be running like the other direction instead? Right. So anyway.
So tell us now kind of what life looks like and what you're doing with your time.
Well, obviously with our son at home, he's taken on a bigger role. And so sometimes I feel a little bit like the third wheel on the quiet days, right? So I started about a little over a year ago, started feeling like, oh, I need to go get a job again, right? I started to feel like I needed to fill my time because I'm still young. I got lots to offer. And then I started just, social media has brought a lot to my world, just following people and being inspired by other women. And so I decided to join a mastermind actually and get a mentor. And from that, I just started to develop this desire to know that I had more to give in a different way. My background is with numbers, with the land and in agriculture, but I feel like I have a lifetime of tuition that I can give to other women. So I've opened up a coaching mentorship space. It's called Rancher by Lori. And essentially what it is I just want to create a community of women where they can come and feel safe, feel heard, and inspire each other and find some rejuvenation and not to feel alone, because loneliness is tough to get through sometimes. And I just want them to know that they're not alone. They do have a lot to bring. Yeah, I feel like we can work together. And, creating this Rancher by Lori hasn't necessarily been about me, but it's been about inspiring other women to step up too. Let's create a community together. It doesn't just happen in town, and we don't always have to be together. We can do it online too. We can talk one-on-one, and all we just have to be is friends for each other.
Right. And I think in this rural space, and you mentioned about feeling that isolation, we are perfect examples of people who are isolated, right? Like there are not people that you can look over your fence and they're in their backyard barbecuing, right? Like we are physically removed from people, and specifically removed from how a majority of people really conduct their lives and live their lives. We don't do things the same. So having kind of those people surrounding you that understand your way of life makes it feel a little bit less lonely. And like you said, you don't have to be in the same room with them. You can be, across the world from them and get that connection, right? Talk to me about what it's been like for you to kind of step back and instead of going to work, making a job for yourself. What has that been like for you?
It's been exciting. It's been growth, right? Obviously, to start this kind of a job, you have to do your own personal work. So it's been a lot of eye-opening for myself. It's been a lot of self-reflection. There's been tears, but there's also been a lot of joy, because I really just feel like that's what I'm supposed to do now, right? Is bring this out. I mean, I want to look these women in the eye and say, I see you, because that's just really how I feel. That's what we need, right? It's just brought a passion in me. Like I'm passionate about my cows. I'm passionate about the land, but I'm really passionate about inspiring the women in the agriculture industry to step up and not try and have to be like the men. Let's just step up and be ourselves, right? Like, let's sit at our kitchen tables and lead with our hearts, because I just feel like that. I mean, the other thing I'm passionate about is the family farms. And so I guess I just feel like if we can lead with our hearts, maybe these family farms can continue on.
Yeah, for sure. So talk to me about, somebody coming to you looking for this mentorship piece. What can they expect?
Yeah. So the program that I have right now, it's called the Balanced Rancher. And it's kind of a mix. It's a mix from my background, right? Like the accounting side of it, the assets and the liabilities. And so I guess when I would start talking to them, we would start to talk about literally their assets and their liabilities. Now, I'm not talking numbers. I'm talking the personal stuff, right? I saw a post the other day where someone, and I thought they said it so eloquently, and I apologize to this person. I don't recall off the top of my head who it was, but she was talking about how she thought her tears were her liabilities. And, but really your tears aren't your liabilities, because they make your emotions move, and it makes space. It makes space for new learning. It makes space for things that might fill you up to build yourself up. The goal of my mentorship program is to redefine, because in agriculture, we seem to be so defined by our net worth. So we consider what we consider to be our self-worth, is we typically will, be defined by what our net worth is. But what I want to say is, no, we need to work on our own self-worth, because our net worth is going to be a direct reflection of our self-worth. When we look after ourselves, the rest comes easily, and it comes without force. And when stuff comes without force, it just happens, right? Like I always say, when I'm good to myself, good things happen. And that's the message I want to give these women. I want to help lead them, assist them. I don't know what the right terminology is, but I want to walk beside them in finding their self-worth and just believing that exactly that, when they're good to themselves, good things will happen to them. And that might be the increase in their actual net worth on their operation. It might just be that they actually believe that they are worth even just half an hour a day to go for a walk and not think about anything but themselves. Just enjoy the sun, enjoy the smell of the land, enjoy the birds, right? Because that's all you really, it's not all you really need, but at its simplest thing, we just need to take a little bit of time for ourselves. But before we take the time for ourselves, we have to acknowledge that we're worthy of that time. And we are worthy of that time.
Right. And I think for a lot of people, and specifically women in agriculture, I've seen it time and time again where people, I guess, devalue themselves because they think I could better spend my time doing something that would affect my bottom line. But if we're looking at the grand scheme of things, if you're taking care of yourself in a way that really fills your cup and, makes you feel better, well, of course that's going to help your bottom line, because if you're not good, you can't do good work.
Yep. It still comes back to the being open to receive and open to give, right? Because when we're open to receive, when we acknowledge that we're open to receive those opportunities that might come, that might not have come otherwise, right? We're open to exploring new options. And also when we feel good, we have more to give, not just for our operations, but our families, for our communities.
Absolutely. Talk to me about some of the conversations that you've had so far. What have been some of the biggest aha moments that have been discovered?
The one that rings the biggest bell with me is a woman said to me, "You had no idea how much I needed this." I didn't know how much I needed this, right? She took a chance and she was like, "Okay, I don't really know what we're going to talk about." And I'll never forget getting the text. And she said, I really did need this. I need this opportunity to talk, and I need to acknowledge that, right? I had organized an event for just a group of women to just talk, and there was no real agenda, right? And the same thing is just the conversations around the synergy, I guess, for lack of a better word, that there is when you get a bunch of women that are together, and it was online, to just talk about what they're doing in a day. And the conversation always, it's so interesting to me, right? We start off talking about, oh, it's snowing here, or, oh, this cow calved and I had to do this. But it always turns into, okay, let's talk about our families. And then we start talking about how we're really feeling. And people aren't always comfortable talking about that. People don't always know they need to talk about that, right? So I guess that's a little bit of lots of the conversations I've had, is just opening up the awareness, right? And just the gratitude for creating this space to become aware.
Right. And, I've experienced this myself, of not exactly knowing what it is that you are going into an event, or, going into a group setting, of knowing what's going to happen, or knowing what you need, or knowing what you're going to take from this. I myself had that experience back in 2017, 2018. And Lori, that's where I first met you.
That's where we met, yeah.
Was back at the Advancing Women in Agriculture conference. And for me, that was the first time I had been to a conference, an agriculture conference, by myself. That was the first time I wrote farmer on my name tag of what my occupation was. Like, I was terrified going in and not really knowing what to expect, but leaving there knowing that, women inherently have a value in this industry. And yes. I didn't know what I was going to do with that feeling. And it turned out about a year later, I started a podcast about talking to women and all of the things. And
thank you for doing that, Caitlin. I mean, you've started a movement, and it's It's beautiful. Just thank you. So much gratitude for your podcast.
My pleasure. And honestly, the movement, I feel like, has always been here. It's just taken somebody to say, I'm going to go first and I'm going to share this. And I'm so grateful that, the women that I met previously, either at the conference or online, had gone first, had shown me that, we can share our stories and we can do it all in a different way. And it all has that value and it brings a piece to our industry that hopefully, keeps the momentum moving forward and seeing what we're doing today. So it was so great being able to reconnect with you at the conference, however many years later it was, and just to see the changes in both of our lives. And it's just, it's an absolute testament of what happens when women come together.
Yes. We're not alone and we do not have to do this alone.
Right. And there's no badge or trophy at the end if you do it alone, because I think there is a badge. It's called Burnout. And typically you wear it right over your face is, I feel, where I wear my badge of burnout if I have it. So
I find it so interesting that we were both at that conference, because for both of us, I think it was an eye-opening moment, right? For yourself, you felt like a farmer now, right? Like you felt like you had found a place and you developed your podcast. I can remember sitting there because I actually went in a corporate role. I was a lender at the time. And so I was there, but I remember sitting back thinking, like, where are the actual farming women? Where are they? Because most of the women at the conference were corporate women. And I mean, there was a few ranchers, and granted, I understand that, it's a busy time of year and getting away for 3 days. I mean, heaven forbid we would try and get off the operation. Right. And so that was actually what sparked this for me was like, we need to hear from the women that are boots on the ground, hands in the gloves too. Don't get me wrong. I love listening to those corporate women because they hold a different power and I admire that too. But it truly was. So the seed for this mentorship coaching, I don't know what I really thought it would come, was planted at that same conference, similar to as it was for you.
Yeah, there must have been something in the water. We'll have to go back and ask Iris about what she put in the good food there. So.
She is a passionate woman, and man, thank goodness for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So moving forward, what are you hoping to achieve? What are you hoping that this mentorship piece grows into? What are the big goals and dreams and aspirations?
Oh, I have lots. Don't know if I need to put them out there yet, but no, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I just want to continue helping more women on the one-on-one, working right now on a group space. I believe more is to come of women working together, right? So I'm working on this space to create that. I would ultimately love to do like retreats to ranches across Canada, the States, globally, to take women there and see how other operations run. But then let's talk about ourselves. Let's talk about our roles as women in agriculture. Like, honestly, that's my big dream, is to just travel the world with other women in agriculture and learn, because I love learning. And I think that just keeps our mind open. But I mean, if I can only change one life, I'm okay with that, but I really want to change more. But I don't want it to be about I. It's not really about I. I want to inspire other women to stand up and talk about it too, and to take the lead. And because I want us to lead together. I don't want to just be doing this alone. And so, although I have the vision of the retreats and groups and whatever, the big goal is just to have more women in this role. That's the big picture.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why mentorship and coaching and, even putting your story out there, like you said, it's not for you, it's for everyone, and for you to go first and to say, like, this is what I need for myself. This is what I have to offer for others, and giving them the permission to do the same, I think, is essentially, in the big picture, is what we're all doing when we're sharing our story and when we're putting ourselves out there. So thank you for doing that and for sharing your story with us, because you are giving the women out there the permission to go next because you've gone first. So thank you.
You're welcome. I just want to add this. So one of my inspirations was my great grandmother. Her husband passed away when my grandpa was 3. So she raised 4 boys on a farm, moved back up to central Alberta. And I always think of her with admiration. And I always say, if 2 generations down the line, there's a young girl who says, man, my grandma did this for me, that would make me happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Those stories of women of generations past before us that I always think of Baba. I think of my husband's Ukrainian grandmother. I get to go have dinner with her tonight. She's 98 years old, and she is absolutely my inspiration and my idol when it comes to rural women. And to hear the stories of what they went through comparatively to what we go through in our daily lives now, I give them thanks, and I give them so much admiration because of everything that they have been through in their lives to bring us to where we are today. And, doing the hard work today, we might not see the benefit in our generation or the next generation. But like you said, if you can say my great grandmother did this and it's helped me along the way, I think that's a pretty cool thing to be able to look back and reflect on. Lori, my last question for you is, what is the most rewarding part about being a rural woman for you?
You ask this to everyone,
Everyone.
And so I knew this question was coming. And I'm like, what is it? And honestly, Caitlin, it's just that I get to be a rural woman.
Yeah.
There are so many women who are living in town and who are constricted, but I have the opportunity to look out and see beautiful land. I get to walk where I want. I've been able to raise my kids on my land in a rural setting with good values. And honestly, that's what I think. I get to do this every day, and that's my reward.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the perfect answer.
Oh, thank you.
Lori, for the folks who are listening who would like to connect with you online and learn more about your programming, where can they find you online?
So I'm on Instagram at Lori Kinnee. I have a website, rancherbylori.com. It's currently, it was there, and now I just want to tweak a few things, getting prepared for the group sessions that I want to start offering. So that will be back online here, I'm thinking within the next couple of weeks, as of actually the time that we're recording this. So keep an eye out for that. And shoot me a DM or whatever works. Send me an email, home@rancherbylori.com. I would just love to connect with anyone who just wanted to even chat. I'm open.
You're a nice person to talk to.
Aw, thank you, Caitlin. You're awesome.
Thank you so much, Lori, for sharing your story with us today. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And keep doing the good work that you're doing, Caitlin.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Rural Woman Podcast. The Rural Woman Podcast is more than just a podcast. We are a community. A huge thank you to the Rural Woman Podcast team, audio editor Max Hofer, and a special thanks to our Patreon executive producers, Sarah Riedner from Happiness by the Acre. To learn how you can become a Patreon executive producer or other ways to financially support the show, head on over to wildrosefarmer.com to learn more. Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to the podcast to get the latest episodes directly on your playlist. And if you are loving the show, please be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other platform that accepts ratings and reviews. You can connect with us on social media at The Rural Woman Podcast and with me at Wild Rose Farmer. One of the best ways you can support the show is by sharing it. Send this episode to a friend or share on your social media. Let's strengthen and amplify the voices of women in agriculture together. Until next time, my friend, keep sharing your story. This week's episode of the Rural Woman Podcast is brought to you by the patrons of the Rural Woman Podcast. This amazing group of individuals contribute financially to the Rural Woman podcast to ensure the stories of women in agriculture hit your earbuds each and every week. Want to join them in supporting the stories of women in agriculture while getting access to extended episodes, patron-only episodes, and other great perks? Head on over to wildrosefarmer.com to learn more about how you can become a patron through Patreon.